Vinturi, essential wine aerator. Simply hold Vinturi, avoiding the air tubes, above a glass or decanter and pour your wine through. You'll notice Vinturi's wine displays a better bouquet, enhanced flavours and smoother finish. The amount of improvement depends on the wine's quality, age and variety. This is the Vinturi, and today I'm going to be testing it. Admittedly, it does look something that you'd find more at an Ann Summers party rather than in the collection of a serious wine lover. Does it work? I'm going to try it with 4 different wines. And the idea is, I don't know if you can really see from here, I might do a better picture of it. You pour wine in the top, there's 2 holes in the side, it draws air in, wine plops out of the bottom, and it's the thing's designed to simulate the process that you get by decanting your wine. We don't all have the time or the space or the inclination to decant wines. The idea with this is it speeds up the process. Just to see whether it works or not, I'm going to do a blind test against a wine that's just been poured straight out of the bottle, a glass that's been poured out about half an hour beforehand, and also one with a rather high-tech wine gadget called a cappuccino frother. 99p I think, or a pound if you go to Poundland. This is about £40. Is it worth the difference? I've got 4 different wines I'm going to try it with, and let's see how we get on. Now, just so you can see the thing in action, here it is. And I'm not using one of the wines I'm going to do the actual tasting with, but see if you can hear this, because you know when people do that, wine people do that horrible trumpy noises when they suck wine in. It does a bit of this itself. You're listening? Hear that again? Sounds practically obscene. And as well, of course, as the Vinturi, I'm going to use a little flexible friend, the cappuccino whisk. How long do you reckon? 5 seconds? 10 seconds? Let's give it 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you're interested in a 40 quid device to help your wine taste better, probably stands to reason that you're not going to be one of those people who's scrambling through the bargain bins in the supermarkets. But how does it work with a reasonable, sort of everyday type of wine? I've got here one called Le Dog de Jean-Marc, and it's Merlot. It comes from the enterprising Montoche Co-op in the Languedoc in France. They make some fabulous, really good value wines. So what I'm going to do with it, what I've done is I put a little bit of a post-it note on the bottom of each glass. I can't remember what order these are round. I'm swapping them round now. I'm doing my Tommy Cooper glass bottle thing, honestly, even though you can't see it. I'd say that was the one that had been whizzed. Let's have a see. Number 3. Well, actually, number 3 was the one that just sat in the bottle, didn't have anything done to it. What about the next one up? That was okay, that one. That was number 4. That was the one that had been in the cappuccino, through the cappuccino thing. That one's okay. That's number 1. That's the one that was poured out early, so it had an extra half hour to breathe in the glass. And so this is the Vinturi, number 2. Pretty inconclusive with those wines. Strange that the one that was just poured straight out of the bottle was the one that I liked least of all. Okay. Let's try it with a different wine. Okay, next wine. Santa Helena Pinot Noir from the Casablanca Valley in Chile. It's the Co-op's own label, price $7.99. And I think the idea of the Vinturi is it's more to loosen up wines which have got a fair bit of tannin and structure, and that the things that you may normally think of, like, I need to keep bottles like that for a bit. Pinot Noir, particularly Pinot Noir from Chile, isn't really wine for the long haul. How's it done in this? Okay, let's... what was the first one? First one has got, again, a bit of a weird rubbery smell. That was the one that was poured out first. So the one that's had half an hour of decanting. Fair enough. Next one, number 6, so Vinturi. Does look good. Let's see what I thought of the last one. It's funny, between the one that was poured out straight away and the Vinturi, I really don't notice too much difference at all. And the one that's been whizzed for a couple of seconds, well, maybe it's lost a bit of freshness, but not convinced either way that any of them is significantly better. The next one we've got. Okay, now this is the sort of wine that the Vinturi has been designed for. Just says Pauillac on the label, but the back says, beautifully made, high-class claret from arguably the top second growth whose vineyards border Pauillac's most famous first growth. Read between the lines, most famous first growth, Chateau Latour. Next to it are the 2 Pichons. I think this is probably a wine made by the team at Pichon Lalonde. So what I would guess from having experienced so far, I'd guess that this one here is the one that had been, that's had the least decanting and just been poured straight from the bottle. Actually, that's the one that's been through the Vinturi. So, hasn't worked on that occasion. The one that I thought was the most forward was this one, number 12, which is the one that's been through the zing zing zing, the coffee maker. And the number 11, that was the one that's just been poured straight out. So first one, number 9. So the Vinturi hasn't done its work there. Let's see if we can do it. So that was a old world, robust and age-worthy wine. Let's try it on one from the New World and see how we get on with that. Okay, the New World one that we're doing, Tapa Napa. Tapa Napa has nothing to do with Napa Valley. It's it's the private project of Brian Croser, who was the Australian wine maverick who founded Petaluma in the 1970s and seemed to have trained half of Australia's winemaker. And he makes it with the Cars family, owners of Lange in Bordeaux, and also there's input from Bollinger. And they got vineyards in various bits of South Australia. And Wellburn Vineyard Cabernet Shiraz from Rattonbully. Rattonbully's, it's one of those places that's down the coast from Adelaide, on the way to Coonawarra, but not quite that far. Okay, let's go back to wine number 1. Now this was, wine number 1 was the one that was just poured out of the glass, out of the bottle. So arguably it should have been the most backward, it is. Wine number 2 was the most forward probably. This was the one that's been through these. Zing, 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 zinger. Hasn't lost anything in the process. Next one up. This is the one that was decanted an hour earlier. Half an hour earlier. Well, that's probably an hour now because I've had 4 lots of wines to taste. And so the last one is the Vinturi. Conclusion? Well, the Vinturi looks nice. And if you've got a friend who's a wine lover who needs lots and lots of gadgets, fine, but it's a bit like, I don't know, thermometers and stuff like that. You don't need it. It's £40, and if I had £40 to spend on a present for someone this Christmas, I'd buy them 2 bottles of £20 wine instead, or maybe 1 bottle of £20 wine, 1 bottle of £19 wine, and a little cappuccino stirrer. To be honest, I found it did its job just as well as this.